During a tense lunch with his wheelchair-bound son, a tycoon accustomed to absolute control is interrupted by a poor, barefoot girl. "Give me food and I will heal your son," she says, staring at him firmly under the incredulous gaze of those present. The man reacts with contempt, but what happens minutes later dismantles everything he believes in. There, in that silence charged with miracle and repentance, begins the transformation of an empire and a soul. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us what city you're watching us from. We'll keep going. The glass-walled restaurant on the 50th floor of the Sterling Tower in Manhattan offered a breathtaking view of New York City, but Robert Sterling didn't notice it anymore. As the CEO of Sterling Financial Group, one of Wall Street's most feared investment firms, he was accustomed to commanding such heights. His presence alone made the staff nervous. The man who could buy and sell companies before breakfast, who never accepted excuses, who demanded perfection because that's what had built his empire. "Your usual table, Mr. Sterling," the maitre d' said with a deferential nod, leading Robert and his 9-year-old son Ethan to a corner table overlooking Central Park. Robert checked his watch impatiently. "We have 45 minutes before my next meeting." The wheelchair moved silently across the plush carpet, pushed by a nurse who had been hired to accompany them. Ethan Sterling sat quietly, his thin frame engulfed by the chair that had been part of his life for 5 years now. His eyes, so much like his mother's before she left them both, were gentle and observant, taking in everything while saying little. "That will be all for now, Ms. Reynolds." Robert dismissed the nurse with a curt nod. "Wait by the elevator." As she left, Ethan watched her go, his small hands resting motionless on the armrests of his wheelchair. The accident that had taken his ability to walk had occurred during a family ski trip to Aspen. The best neurologists in the country had been flown in, specialists consulted from around the world, experimental treatments attempted, all funded by Robert's vast fortune. None had provided answers, let alone solutions. "The Dover acquisition closes tomorrow," Robert said, opening his tablet as a waiter silently filled their water glasses. "Your trust fund will increase substantially. We'll need to discuss with the financial advisors how to structure the new portfolio allocations." Ethan nodded, though his eyes wandered to a family at a nearby table, a mother and father laughing with their daughter over dessert. Something flickered across his face, longing perhaps for what was lost or what had never been. "Ethan," Robert's voice sharpened slightly. "Focus, please. This affects your future." "Yes, sir," the boy replied softly. Robert frowned at his son's menu. "The salmon for him. No sauce. Steamed vegetables on the side. And I'll have the filet, rare, with the truffle potatoes. Sparkling water for both. We're in a hurry." The waiter disappeared with their orders, and Robert returned to his tablet, scanning through emails and market reports. Occasionally, he would share a fact or figure with Ethan, speaking to him as he might to a junior executive, rather than a child. "The Chinese markets are adjusting to our position on the tech sector. It's a good lesson in leverage, Ethan. When you control enough capital, you can make the market bend to your will rather than the other way around." Ethan nodded again, his eyes drifting to the floor-to-ceiling windows and the city spread out below them like a living map. Somewhere down there were children playing in Central Park, riding bikes, running, all the things his body refused to do anymore. "Dad," he said suddenly, interrupting Robert's monologue about interest rate projections, "do you ever wonder if I'll walk again?" Robert's fingers froze over his tablet. He looked up, his expression momentarily unguarded, revealing a flash of pain that was quickly mastered. "The top specialists in the world have examined you, Ethan. If there was a solution, we would have found it by now." He straightened his tie, a nervous habit from his early days on Wall Street. "But we'll continue exploring options. I've authorized another $500,000 for Dr. Levinson's research program at Johns Hopkins." Money. That was always his father's answer. Throw enough money at a problem and it would eventually surrender. But 5 years and millions of dollars later, Ethan remained in his wheelchair, and Robert remained trapped in his own prison of relentless work and emotional distance. Their food arrived with efficient speed. The Sterling name ensured priority service everywhere in the city. Robert cut into his steak, while continuing to scroll through his messages, one-handed. "Eat, Ethan, you need your strength." The boy picked at his salmon without enthusiasm. The restaurant hummed around them with the quiet conversations of New York's elite, investment bankers, hedge fund managers, real estate moguls, and the occasional celebrity. Robert Sterling was recognized by many, feared by most. His ruthlessness in business was legendary. Companies acquired and dismantled, competitors crushed, employees discarded when no longer useful. "Mr. Peterson's daughter got a puppy," Ethan said suddenly. Robert glanced up, momentarily confused by this non sequitur. "Peterson? From acquisitions? No, Mr. Peterson who drives me to physical therapy on Thursdays. He showed me pictures. It's a golden retriever named Buddy." "Ah," Robert returned to his tablet. "Speaking of your therapy, Dr. Goldstein suggests we try a new regimen starting next week. It's experimental, but the preliminary data looks promising." The conversation lapsed into silence again. Outside, clouds gathered over the city, threatening rain. The restaurant's lighting adjusted automatically, creating a warm glow that failed to reach the Sterling table. Then something unusual happened, something that disrupted the carefully controlled atmosphere of New York's most exclusive restaurant. A commotion near the entrance drew attention. The maître's voice rose slightly, something that never happened in this temple of luxury and discretion. "Young lady, you cannot. This is a private establishment. Security." Robert didn't look up, assuming the staff would handle whatever disturbance had occurred. But Ethan was watching, his eyes widening as a small figure slipped past the flustered staff and made her way determinedly through the dining room. She was perhaps 11 or 12 years old, wearing jeans with holes at the knees and a faded blue hoodie. Her sneakers were worn thin, her dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. She moved with surprising confidence through the room of power brokers and millionaires, ignoring the stares and whispers that followed her, and she was walking straight toward their table. "Dad," Ethan said, his voice urgent. "Dad, look." Robert glanced up with annoyance, prepared to summon security. But something in the girl's direct gaze gave him pause. She wasn't frightened or intimidated. She looked at him as though she knew him, as though she had come specifically to find him. She stopped at their table, standing directly beside Ethan's wheelchair. Up close, Robert could see her face clearly. Amber eyes that seemed older than her years, a determined set to her jaw, and an expression of absolute certainty. "Give me something to eat," she said without preamble, "and I'll help your son walk again." Robert Sterling stared at the girl, momentarily speechless, a condition foreign to a man who commanded boardrooms and crushed opponents with his words. Then his face hardened, a cold smile appearing at the corners of his mouth. "Well, that's quite a sales pitch," he said, his voice cutting through the sudden silence that had fallen around their table. "Original. I'll give you that." Two security guards approached rapidly from across the restaurant, but Robert held up his hand to stop them. He was curious now. In the same calculating way he assessed business opportunities or potential threats. "I've heard many schemes in my time," he continued, leaning back in his chair, "but targeting a child's disability, that's particularly despicable." The girl didn't flinch. She stood her ground, her gaze shifting from Robert to Ethan, whose expression reflected a mixture of surprise and something else, a flicker of hope that he couldn't quite suppress. "I'm not selling anything," she said calmly. "I'm offering help." "Help?" Robert's laugh was short and sharp. "Every specialist from New York to Zurich has examined my son. Johns Hopkins, Mayo Clinic, Massachusetts General. They've all failed to help. But you, a child from off the street, you can succeed where they failed." The girl ignored his sarcasm. She spoke directly to Ethan now. "May I?" she asked simply, gesturing to his legs. Before Robert could intervene, Ethan nodded. Something in her confidence had reached him. Or perhaps it was just the desperation of a child who had spent 5 years watching the world from a wheelchair. "Don't be ridiculous," Robert began, but fell silent when the girl knelt beside the wheelchair. With gentle hands, she placed her palms on Ethan's knees. There was nothing theatrical about the gesture, no dramatics or showmanship. She closed her eyes briefly, her face serene and focused. "Security," Robert called, his patience evaporating. But Ethan raised his hand. "Wait, Dad. Please." The restaurant had gone completely silent now. Even the waitstaff stood frozen, watching the scene unfold. The maître d' hovered anxiously nearby, clearly torn between respecting Robert Sterling's enormous influence and removing this unexpected disruption. The girl opened her eyes and looked up at Ethan. "Sometimes it takes a few minutes," she said softly. Robert had enough. He stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. "This charade is over. You're exploiting a vulnerable child for what? Money? Attention?" He signaled to the security guards. "Remove her. Now." "No!" Ethan protested, but his voice was drowned out as Robert continued. And call the police. I want to know how she got past security and who put her up to this sick scheme. The security guards moved forward, one grasping the girl's arm firmly. She didn't resist or argue. She simply looked at Ethan once more and said, "Remember what I said a few minutes." As they led her away, she maintained her dignity, neither crying nor pleading. The other diners watched with a mixture of discomfort and morbid fascination as the girl was escorted to the elevator. "Vultures," Robert muttered, reaching for his water glass, preying on hope and desperation. He glanced at his son, whose eyes remained fixed on the elevator doors that had closed behind the girl. "Ethan, you can't believe—" "Dad," Ethan interrupted, his voice strange. "Dad, my legs feel warm." Robert froze, the glass halfway to his lips. What? "They're tingling, like when your foot falls asleep but then starts to wake up." Ethan's eyes were wide, his hands gripping the armrests of his wheelchair. "I can feel them, Dad. I can feel my legs." Robert set down his glass so quickly that water sloshed over the rim. "That's not possible. It's suggestion, Ethan. A psychological response to—" "No," Ethan insisted, his voice stronger than Robert had heard in years. "Look!" Robert watched in disbelief as Ethan's right foot moved slightly, then his left. Just a twitch, but unmistakable. Voluntary movement, where there had been none for 5 years. "My God," he whispered. Without another word, Robert threw a handful of $100 bills on the table and rushed to the wheelchair, pushing it himself toward the elevator, something he had never done before, always leaving such tasks to nurses and assistants. "We need to find her," he said, jabbing the elevator button repeatedly. "Now." The descent to the lobby felt interminable. Ethan kept flexing his feet, his face alight with wonder. "Dad, it's getting stronger, the feeling, it's spreading up from my feet." The elevator finally reached the ground floor, and Robert pushed the wheelchair at a near run through the marble-floored lobby. "Did you see where they took the girl?" he demanded of the startled doorman. "Security escorted her out about 5 minutes ago, Mr. Sterling." Robert burst through the revolving doors onto the busy Manhattan street. Rain had started to fall, light at first, but quickly intensifying. Pedestrians hurried past with umbrellas and briefcases held over their heads. "There," Ethan pointed. Across the street, the girl was walking away, her blue hoodie already darkening with rain. Without waiting for the light to change, Robert pushed the wheelchair between stopped cars, ignoring angry honks. "Wait," he called after her. "Stop." The girl turned, raindrops sliding down her face. She didn't look surprised to see them. "He can feel his legs," Robert said, breathless more from shock than exertion. "What did you do to him?" "I didn't do anything to him," she replied. "I just reminded his body of what it already knows." A taxi splashed by, sending water cascading over the curb. The girl stepped back to avoid it, then turned to go. "No, wait, please," Robert said, the word please unfamiliar on his lips. "Come back with us. I need to understand what's happening." She hesitated, studying him with those unnervingly perceptive eyes. "You didn't believe me before." "I believe you now," Robert said, the rain plastering his expensive suit to his body. He didn't care. For the first time in years, something mattered more than his appearance, his control, his empire. "Please," the girl looked at Ethan, who was still moving his feet in small experimental movements. "It's working," he told her, his face transformed by joy. "I can feel everything below my knees now." She smiled then, a simple, genuine expression that softened her serious face. "Good. That's how it starts." "Who are you?" Robert asked. "What's your name?" "Lily," she said. "My name is Lily." Before Robert could say more, Lily turned and ran, surprisingly fast for her size. She darted between pedestrians and disappeared around a corner. "Lily!" Robert shouted, pushing the wheelchair forward. But by the time they reached the corner, she was gone, swallowed by the vast, anonymous crowds of New York City. Robert stood in the rain, scanning the streets frantically. For a man accustomed to commanding vast resources, to having every desire instantly fulfilled, this sudden helplessness was crushing. "We have to find her," he said, more to himself than to Ethan. "Whatever it takes." Ethan looked up at his father, rain mingling with tears on his face. "She said it takes a few minutes. Maybe it takes a few days too. Maybe I don't need to see her again." But Robert wasn't listening. He was already on his phone, barking orders. "Jenkins, I need a security team. Yes, now. I want every camera in a 10-block radius checked. Find a girl, 11 or 12, dark hair, blue hoodie. No, I don't care what it costs. And call Davis at the NYPD. Tell him it's a personal favor." He paused, looking down at Ethan. "My son's life depends on it." As they made their way back to the Sterling Tower, where Robert's private car waited, Ethan continued to report new sensations. Warmth spreading up his thighs, occasional twitches in muscles long dormant. Robert listened with growing amazement and determination. He would find this girl, this Lily. He would understand what miracles she had performed, and he would ensure it wasn't temporary or incomplete. What Robert Sterling didn't yet realize was that finding Lily would lead him to confront something far more personal than a medical mystery. It would force him to face the consequences of his own past actions and the true meaning of power and weakness. 3 days of relentless searching followed. Robert Sterling deployed resources that would have impressed even federal agencies, private investigators, security experts, data analysts poring over surveillance footage, contacts in law enforcement discreetly mobilized. The Sterling name opened doors, and Robert's desperation shattered any that remained closed. Meanwhile, Ethan's condition continued to improve, though with frustrating inconsistency. There were moments when he could move his entire legs, even stand briefly while holding onto furniture. Then there were setbacks, hours when the sensation receded, when the miracle seemed to be slipping away. "It's like the tide," Ethan explained from his bed in their Central Park penthouse, where Robert had insisted on staying to monitor his progress instead of retreating to their Connecticut estate. "It comes in and goes out, but each time it comes back stronger." Robert had cancelled all meetings, delegated critical decisions, and sequestered himself with his son. The business world buzzed with speculation about his unprecedented absence, but for once he didn't care about the markets or his reputation. He sat beside Ethan's bed, watching every twitch of movement with the focus he usually reserved for billion-dollar negotiations. "Mr. Sterling," his assistant said from the doorway. "Mr. Reynolds from security is here with an update." Reynolds entered, a former FBI agent who now headed Sterling Financial's internal security division. His expression suggested news of significance. "We found her, sir." Robert stood immediately. "Where?" "A shelter in Brooklyn, Hope Harbor Women's Refuge." Reynolds hesitated. "There's something else you should know before we proceed." "Tell me on the way," Robert said, already reaching for his jacket. He turned to Ethan. "I'll be back soon, with Lily." "Dad," Ethan called as Robert reached the door. "Be nice to her, please." The request was so simple yet so revealing of how his son perceived him. Robert nodded curtly, unable to promise more. In the sleek black SUV heading toward Brooklyn, Reynolds briefed him on their findings. "The girl's full name is Lily Pearson. She's 12 years old. She lives at the shelter with her mother, Catherine Pearson." Robert stared out at the city rushing by, the familiar Manhattan skyline giving way to the bridges that connected to Brooklyn's different reality. "Catherine Pearson," Reynolds continued, his voice careful now. "She worked for Sterling Financial from 2012 to 2016. She was in your emerging markets division." Robert frowned, searching his memory. "I don't recall the name." "She was let go during the Asia restructuring. After that, she struggled. According to our sources, she lost her apartment shortly after being terminated. There were medical issues, financial hardship." A coldness spread through Robert's chest. The Asia restructuring, he remembered it well. 300 employees cut in a single day to maximize profits before a major acquisition. He had personally approved the list, though he hadn't reviewed the individual names. It was just business, just numbers on a spreadsheet. "Medical issues?" he asked. Reynolds shifted uncomfortably. "She was pregnant when she was terminated, sir, with the girl." The SUV slowed as they entered a neighborhood far removed from Robert's usual world. Here, luxury high-rises gave way to aging apartment buildings and storefronts with security grates. The Hope Harbor Women's Refuge occupied a converted church, its stone facade weathered but dignified. "Wait here," Robert told Reynolds, stepping out alone. Inside, the shelter's reception area was simple but clean. A middle-aged woman looked up from a desk. "May I help you?" "I'm looking for Catherine Pearson and her daughter Lily." The woman's expression became guarded. "And you are?" "Robert Sterling." Recognition flickered in her eyes, not the deference he usually encountered, but something closer to wariness. "I'll see if they're available to receive visitors." She disappeared through a door, leaving Robert standing in the unfamiliar space. Bulletin boards displayed resources for women in crisis, job listings, healthcare options, legal aid. A table held donated children's books and toys. This was a world he funded occasionally through tax-deductible donations, but never entered. The door opened again, but it wasn't the receptionist who emerged. It was a woman in her late 30s, thin and tired-looking, but with a quiet dignity that commanded attention. Behind her stood Lily, watching Robert with those same perceptive eyes he remembered from the restaurant. The woman stopped a few feet from him, her posture rigid with tension. "Mr. Sterling, my daughter told me you might come looking for her." Robert struggled to place her face. Had he ever actually met her, or was she just one of hundreds whose livelihoods he had ended with a signature? "Catherine Pearson," he said, extending his hand automatically. She didn't take it. "Kate, no one calls me Catherine except HR departments and collection agencies." Robert lowered his hand, feeling uncharacteristically awkward. "I need to speak with your daughter." "Why? So you can accuse her of being a fraud again?" Kate's voice was controlled, but edged with bitterness. "Or have you changed your mind now that you've seen what she can do?" "Mom," Lily said softly, touching her mother's arm, "it's okay." "It's not okay, Lily. Nothing about this is okay." Kate turned back to Robert. "Do you know what happened after Sterling Financial decided I was expendable? Do you have any idea what it's like to be 6 months pregnant with no income, no insurance, and no prospects? Because your former employer blacklisted you in the industry." Robert maintained his composure through years of practice, but inside, an unfamiliar discomfort was growing. "I didn't personally make those decisions regarding individual employees." "Of course not. You just signed off on them," Kate said. "You created a culture where people like me were disposable, numbers on a spreadsheet to be erased when convenient." "Mum," Lily said again, more firmly this time, "he's not here for that. He's here because of his son." Kate fell silent, her anger momentarily checked by her daughter's calm intervention. Robert looked at Lily, struck again by the maturity in her expression. "My son can feel his legs, move them, even stand briefly. The doctors can't explain it. They're calling it spontaneous neural recovery, but they've never seen anything like it." He hesitated, then added, "He's asking for you. I told you it would work," Lily said simply. "How?" Robert couldn't keep the question contained any longer. "How did you do it?" Lily glanced at her mother, then back to Robert. "I can't explain it. I just always could. I can feel where things are wrong in people, and sometimes I can help fix them." "She's always been different," Kate said, her voice softer now, "even as a baby. The doctors couldn't explain it." "I want to help your son finish getting better," Lily said, "but my mum is afraid." "Afraid of what?" Robert asked. Kate gave a short, incredulous laugh. "Are you serious? Afraid of what happens when word gets out that a child can miraculously heal people? Afraid of the exploitation, the media circus, the religious fanatics, the desperate sick people who would never leave her alone?" She stepped closer to Robert. "Afraid of men like you who see something unique and immediately think about how to control it, own it, profit from it." The accusation stung with its accuracy. Robert's first instinct upon witnessing Ethan's improvement had indeed been to secure exclusive access to this inexplicable gift, to control it. "I understand your concerns," he said carefully, "but my only interest is my son's recovery, and once he's fully recovered." "What then?" Kate challenged. "You'll forget all about us again, until you or someone you care about needs another miracle." The conversation was not proceeding as Robert had planned. He was accustomed to getting what he wanted through persuasion or power. Neither seemed effective here. "What do you want?" he asked finally. "Name your price." Kate's expression hardened. There it is, the real Robert Sterling, thinking everything and everyone has a price tag. "Mom," Lily interrupted again, "I need to help him, not for Mr. Sterling, for Ethan." "You don't owe them anything, Lily." "It's not about owing," Lily said with a wisdom beyond her years. "It's about what I can do, what I'm supposed to do." A silent communication passed between mother and daughter, a lifetime of shared struggles, of survival against odds, of protecting each other in a world that had shown them little kindness. Finally, Kate turned back to Robert. "If, and this is a big if, we agree to help your son, it happens on our terms. absolute privacy. No doctors studying her, no tests, no publicity. And when it's done, it's done. We disappear from your life completely. And if I don't agree to those terms? Robert asked. Kate met his gaze unflinchingly. Then we leave New York tonight. I have friends in places your money can't reach. You'll never find us again. It was not an idle threat. Robert could see the determination in her eyes, the readiness to protect her child at any cost. It was a kind of power he hadn't encountered in his boardrooms or business dealings, the fierce, uncompromising love of a parent who had nothing left to lose. And in that moment, he recognized something of himself in her. Wouldn't he do the same for Ethan? Hadn't he already upended his carefully ordered life in pursuit of his son's healing? I agree to your terms, he said finally. Complete privacy. No doctors, no tests, no publicity. Kate studied him, searching for deception. We'll need that in writing, a legal agreement. I'll have my attorneys draw it up immediately. No, Kate said. My attorney. Someone I trust. Robert nodded, conceding this point as well. When can you come see Ethan? Kate and Lily exchanged glances. Tomorrow, Kate decided. We'll come tomorrow after the paperwork is signed. As Robert turned to leave, Lily spoke again. Mr. Sterling, Ethan should keep trying to stand, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. That's when the healing is happening. Robert paused at the door, struck by the simple wisdom in her words. I'll tell him, he said, and stepped back into the world he recognized, a world that suddenly seemed less solid, less comprehensible than it had been just days before. The next morning, Robert's private elevator whisked Kate and Lily to the penthouse floor of Sterling Tower. The legal agreement had been signed at Kate's insistence before they'd even left the shelter. A comprehensive document drafted by a community legal aid attorney who seemed to take particular satisfaction in binding Robert Sterling to terms he couldn't escape. When the elevator doors opened, revealing the sprawling penthouse with its floor-to-ceiling windows and panoramic views of Manhattan, Kate's expression remained carefully neutral. But Lily's eyes widened slightly at the sight of such opulence. Mom, look at the view, she whispered. Kate squeezed her daughter's hand. Remember why we're here, she said quietly. Robert greeted them in the foyer, looking different from the commanding figure at the restaurant. He'd forgone his usual impeccable suit for a casual sweater and slacks. There were shadows under his eyes, evidence of sleepless nights. Thank you for coming, he said, the words still awkward on his tongue. Ethan is in the sunroom. He's been asking about you since dawn, Lily. He led them through the penthouse, a museum-like space of modern art, minimalist furniture, and strategic spotlights, highlighting architectural features. Everything was designed to impress, to convey power and success. Kate took it all in with a sidelong glance that suggested she found it more sad than impressive. The sunroom stood in contrast to the rest of the apartment. Flooded with natural light, it housed lush plants and comfortable furniture. Ethan sat in his wheelchair near the windows, a book open on his lap. When he saw them enter, his face lit up. Lily, you came back! Lily smiled, moving toward him with natural ease. I said I would help you, didn't I? Robert watched the two children greet each other, his son's eager excitement, Lily's calm confidence. They seemed to connect instantly, as though continuing a conversation only briefly interrupted. My legs are stronger today, Ethan told her. I stood up for almost a minute this morning, holding onto the bed. That's great, Lily said. Can you show me? While the children talked, Robert turned to Kate. Can I offer you something? Coffee, tea? No, thank you, she replied, still maintaining her distance. An uncomfortable silence fell between them. Robert was unaccustomed to social awkwardness. In his world, people rushed to fill silences, eager to please him, but Kate seemed content to let the discomfort linger. Your daughter, he finally said. Has she always been able to do what she does? Kate's gaze remained on Lily, who was now kneeling beside Ethan's wheelchair. The first time I noticed was when she was 3. A woman at our bus stop had terrible migraines. Lily touched her head and the woman's pain disappeared. She paused. I thought it was coincidence until it kept happening. A neighbor's arthritis, a classmate's asthma, small things at first. And you never told anyone, never tried to profit from it, Kate finished sharply. No, Mr. Sterling. Not everyone sees gifts as commodities to be exploited. Before Robert could respond, Ethan's voice rose in excitement. Dad, look! Robert turned to see his son standing beside the wheelchair, one hand on Lily's shoulder for balance. His legs trembled with effort, but he was upright, supporting most of his own weight. 3 weeks ago, the doctors said this would never happen, Robert said, his voice thick with emotion. They said the nerve damage was permanent. Doctors don't know everything, Lily said simply. She looked up at Ethan. Try taking a step. Ethan's face tightened in concentration. Slowly, shakily, he lifted his right foot and moved it forward a few inches. Then the left. 2 small steps that might as well have been a marathon. Robert couldn't speak. After 5 years of watching his son confined to a wheelchair, after millions spent on failed treatments and crushed hopes, these simple movements seemed impossible. Yet they were happening before his eyes. Ethan managed 3 more steps before his strength gave out. Lily helped him back to the wheelchair, her small hands steady and sure. That's enough for now, she said. You need to rest between efforts. Healing takes energy. Will I be able to walk normally again? Ethan asked, his voice a mixture of hope and fear. All the time, I mean, not just a few steps. Lily nodded. Yes, but it will take time and work. Your body is remembering what it forgot. Kate stepped forward. Lily, we should go. You've done enough for today. Mum, I should stay longer. He needs more help. You've already helped tremendously, Robert interjected, sensing Kate's discomfort. Perhaps you could come back tomorrow. Kate's expression suggested she wanted to refuse, but Lily looked at her pleadingly. Mum, please. I promised. After a moment's hesitation, Kate nodded. Tomorrow, for 1 hour. As they prepared to leave, Robert walked them to the elevator. I've arranged for a car to take you wherever you need to go. We'll take the subway, Kate said firmly. At least let me... Mr. Sterling, Kate interrupted. We're helping your son because Lily wants to. That doesn't make us your charity case. The elevator doors closed on her resolute expression, leaving Robert alone in the hallway. He returned to the sunroom, where Ethan was attempting to stand again. She's amazing, Dad, Ethan said, his face flushed with effort and excitement. How does she do it? I don't know, Robert admitted, a rare confession of ignorance, but I'm grateful that she can. Her mom doesn't like you very much, Ethan observed with a child's directness. Robert helped his son back into the wheelchair. No, she doesn't. Why not? It was a simple question that required a complicated answer, one that Robert wasn't sure he fully understood himself yet. Sometimes, Ethan, the decisions we make in business affect people's lives in ways we don't see. I think I made decisions that hurt Ms. Pearson. Ethan considered this. Then you should apologize. It's not that simple. Why not? Ethan persisted. When I do something wrong, you always tell me to apologize and make it right. Out of the mouths of babes, Robert thought. He had indeed taught his son that lesson without applying it to his own life. In the world of high finance, apologies were seen as weaknesses, admissions of liability. You never apologized. You settled out of court with non-disclosure agreements. Oh, you're right, he said finally. I should try to make it right. The next day, Kate and Lily returned as promised. This time, Lily worked with Ethan for nearly 2 hours, guiding him through simple exercises, having him stand for increasingly longer periods, encouraging his first hesitant steps around the sunroom. Robert observed from a distance, noting the intuitive way Lily seemed to know exactly when to push and when to let Ethan rest. There was nothing mystical about her methods, no incantations or dramatic gestures, just a quiet confidence and an uncanny sense of what Ethan's body needed. On the 3rd day, Robert made his move. As Lily worked with Ethan in the sunroom, he approached Kate, who stood by the windows keeping watchful eyes on her daughter. Ms. Pearson, he began formally, I've been thinking about our situation. Our situation? Kate raised an eyebrow. Your situation, he corrected. Living in a shelter while your daughter performs miracles for the son of the man whose company left you homeless. Kate's expression hardened. If this is your attempt at offering money again... It's not about money, Robert interrupted. It's about safety and stability for Lily and for you. He hesitated, then continued. I have a property in Brooklyn Heights, a brownstone. It's been sitting empty since I acquired it in a portfolio deal last year. I'd like you and Lily to have it. Kate stared at him. Have it? Own it, free and clear. I'll transfer the deed to your name. Suspicion clouded her features. In exchange for what? Continued access to Lily's abilities? No. No conditions. No strings attached. Robert met her gaze directly. Consider it restitution, not payment. Restitution, Kate repeated slowly, for firing me when I was pregnant, for the years my daughter and I spent in shelters and cheap motels, for the medical bills I couldn't pay because I lost my insurance. Each question landed like a blow. Robert didn't flinch. Yes, for all of that. And for the thousands of others like you that I never saw, never considered. Kate studied him, searching for deception. Why now? Because you need something from me. Because my son is learning to walk again, Robert said simply. And because he asked me why you don't like me. I had to explain that sometimes the decisions we make hurt people, even when we don't see them. He told me I should apologize and make it right. He smiled slightly. 9-year-olds have a way of simplifying complex ethical dilemmas. For the first time since they'd met, Kate's expression softened slightly. He sounds like a good kid. He is. Better than I deserve, probably. Robert glanced toward the sunroom, where Ethan was taking careful steps with Lily's encouragement. The brownstone is yours regardless of what happens with Ethan's recovery. I've already instructed my attorneys to prepare the paperwork. Kate didn't respond immediately. She turned back to the window, looking out over the city that had been so cruel and so indifferent to her struggles. I don't want your charity, Mr. Sterling. It's not charity, Robert replied. It's justice, long overdue. 2 weeks passed. Spring emerged fully in New York City's Central Park, bursting into green life below the Sterling penthouse windows. Inside, another kind of rebirth was taking place. Ethan was walking. Not perfectly, not without occasional support, but walking nonetheless. He could cross the sunroom unassisted, climb 3 stairs before needing to rest, even stand long enough to look out the windows at the park he hoped to visit soon, on his own 2 feet. The transformation extended beyond his physical abilities. There was a new light in his eyes, a confidence that had been dimmed by years of limitation. He laughed more, talked more, engaged with the world with renewed enthusiasm. Robert watched this metamorphosis with a mixture of joy and disbelief. The doctors were baffled, calling it an unprecedented recovery, a medical anomaly they would study for years. They proposed tests, experimental monitoring, case studies. Robert declined them all, honoring his agreement with Kate. Kate and Lily had moved into the Brooklyn Heights brownstone, though Kate had insisted on a proper lease agreement rather than outright ownership. I'll buy it from you gradually, she had told Robert. Below market value considering the circumstances, but I'll pay for it. Her pride wouldn't allow anything else. Lily continued to visit Ethan daily, sometimes working with him on physical exercises, sometimes simply playing board games or watching movies. Normal childhood activities that were made extraordinary by the circumstances that had brought them together. Robert found himself changing too, in ways both subtle and profound. He delegated more at work, prioritized dinner with Ethan over late meetings, and actually listened when his son spoke. He found himself asking questions he'd never considered before, about the human cost of business decisions, about responsibility beyond shareholders, about the invisible ripple effects of power. But the transformation wasn't without setbacks. Dad! Ethan's panicked voice jolted Robert awake at 3 a.m. Dad, something's wrong. Robert rushed to his son's room to find Ethan sitting up in bed, face pale with fear. My legs, they're heavy again, and the pain is back. Robert helped Ethan attempt to stand, but his son's legs buckled beneath him. The progress of the past 2 weeks seemed to be evaporating before their eyes. It's okay, Robert said, trying to keep the alarm from his voice. Maybe you just overdid it yesterday. Let's get you back to bed and we'll call Lily in the morning. But morning brought little improvement. Ethan could still feel his legs, still move them somewhat, but the fluid movement he'd developed was gone, replaced by stiffness and weakness. When Lily arrived and saw Ethan struggling, her expression grew serious but not surprised. This happens sometimes, she said, sitting beside him on the bed. The body takes 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But why? Robert demanded, the old impatience surfacing. He was doing so well. Lily looked at him with those disconcertingly wise eyes. Healing isn't a straight line, Mr. Sterling. It's more like, she thought for a moment, it's like your stock market, up and down but hopefully trending in the right direction over time. Robert couldn't help but smile at the analogy. You know about stock markets? My mom taught me. She says I should understand money even if we don't have much of it. Lily worked with Ethan throughout the day, but the improvement was minimal. As evening approached, Robert found himself fighting a creeping dread. What if this was it? What if Ethan's recovery had plateaued, or worse, was reversing? After Lily left, Robert called Dr. Levinson, the neurologist who had been treating Ethan for years. "I'd need to examine him to give you a proper assessment," Levinson said cautiously. "But regression after initial improvement isn't uncommon in neurological cases. The nervous system is incredibly complex." "But he was walking," Robert insisted. "Actually walking." "Which is remarkable," Levinson agreed. "But without knowing what caused the improvement in the first place, it's difficult to say why it might be reversing. I strongly recommend bringing him in for tests." Robert thanked the doctor and hung up, torn between his promise to Kate and his desperation to understand what was happening to his son. That night, unable to sleep, he found himself standing at the window of his home office, staring out at the city lights. The empire he'd built seemed suddenly hollow, its value meaningless if it couldn't guarantee his son's health. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. He turned to find Ethan in the doorway, leaning heavily on a walker the physical therapist had left behind. "Dad, are you okay?" Robert quickly composed himself. "I'm fine. Should you be out of bed?" Ethan made his way slowly into the office. "I couldn't sleep either." He maneuvered himself into one of the leather chairs facing Robert's desk. "You're worried about my legs?" "Of course I am. Lily said it's normal, the ups and downs." "Lily isn't a doctor, Ethan." "No," Ethan agreed. "She's better." Robert sighed, sitting across from his son. "I just want to understand what's happening. If we knew why your condition improved, maybe we could ensure it continues." "Maybe we're not supposed to understand everything," Ethan said thoughtfully. "Lily told me sometimes we have to trust the process even when we can't control it." Robert smiled wryly. "That's a difficult concept for me to accept." "I know," Ethan said with surprising insight. "You like to control everything." The simple truth from his son's lips struck Robert deeply. Control had been his North Star, controlling markets, controlling outcomes, controlling his emotions after Ethan's mother left, controlling the narrative around Ethan's condition. "You're right," he admitted, "but some things can't be controlled." The next morning brought another surprise. Ethan woke with renewed strength in his legs, not a complete return to his previous progress, but a significant improvement from the day before. "See," he told his father triumphantly, "Lily was right." And so began a new pattern. Ethan's recovery proceeded in waves, great strides forward followed by temporary setbacks, but with an overall trajectory of improvement. Robert learned to weather these fluctuations with growing patience, to trust the process as Lily had advised. But just as they were adapting to this new normal, an unexpected complication arose. Robert was reviewing quarterly reports in his home office when his assistant called with urgent news. "Sir, there's a journalist asking questions about Ethan's recovery. Amanda Chen from the New York Chronicle. She's specifically inquiring about a miraculous healing and a young girl with special abilities who's been seen entering your building daily." Robert felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. "How did she get this information?" "Unclear, sir, but she claims to have surveillance footage from the restaurant where you and Ethan dined 3 weeks ago, and statements from staff who witnessed an unusual encounter. The restaurant, of course, dozens of witnesses had seen Lily approach their table, had heard her bold claim. In the age of smartphones and social media, Robert was actually surprised it had taken this long for someone to connect the dots. "Decline to comment," he instructed, "and find out exactly what she knows and what evidence she has." After hanging up, Robert paced his office, mind racing. He had promised Kate absolute privacy, no publicity, no media attention. If this story broke, that promise would be shattered, along with the fragile trust they had built. He called Kate immediately. "We may have a problem," he said after explaining the situation. "I'll handle it, but I wanted you to know." Kate's voice was tight with controlled panic. "This is exactly what I was afraid of. If this gets out, Lily will never have a normal life again." "I understand. I'll make sure it doesn't happen." "How?" Kate demanded. "You can't control the press, Robert, not even you." The use of his first name, a first, didn't escape his notice. "Let me worry about that. Just keep Lily away from the building for a few days. I'll come to you if Ethan needs her." After hanging up, Robert made another call to Marcus Delgado, his longtime attorney and fixer. I need you to find everything you can on Amanda Chen from the Chronicle, and I need options for keeping a story suppressed. Suppressed? Marcus sounded cautious. That's tricky territory in the age of digital media, Robert. What kind of story are we talking about? Personal, family, medical? Robert's tone made it clear he wouldn't elaborate further. I'll see what I can do. The next morning, Robert met with Marcus in a private conference room at Sterling Tower. She's good, Marcus said, sliding a folder across the table. Pulitzer finalist last year for her series on medical fraud, known for being thorough and difficult to intimidate. Everyone has a price, Robert said dismissively. Marcus shook his head. Not this one, apparently. She's turned down offers before, and if you try to buy her off, that becomes the story. Robert opened the folder, studying the journalist's credentials. What does she have exactly? Security footage from Le Ciel showing a young girl approaching your table, statements from 3 staff members about what they heard, medical records indicating Ethan's long-standing paralysis, and time-stamped photos of him walking, taken through your penthouse windows with a telephoto lens. That's invasion of privacy, Robert snapped. It's journalism, Marcus countered. And it's a hell of a story. Wall Street titan's son miraculously healed by mysterious child. The religious angle alone will make it go viral. Robert closed the folder. I made a promise, Marcus, to protect the privacy of the child who helped Ethan. I can't break that promise. Marcus studied him with surprise. This doesn't sound like the Robert Sterling I know. Maybe I'm not entirely that person anymore, Robert admitted. What are my options? Limited. You could try buying the story, not from Chen, but from her publisher, exclusive rights. That would give you control over if and how it's released. That might work. What else? You could get ahead of it. Tell the story yourself, but control the narrative. Minimize the miracle angle. Focus on experimental treatment protocols. Attribute Ethan's recovery to conventional medicine. That would mean lying, Robert said, and breaking my word. Marcus leaned forward. Robert, be realistic. This story will come out one way or another. The question is whether you want to shape it or be shaped by it. Robert stood, walking to the window that overlooked Manhattan. The city that had always bent to his will now seemed to harbor threats he couldn't simply buy off or intimidate into submission. Set up a meeting with Chen, he said finally. I want to talk to her myself. Amanda Chen arrived at Sterling Tower precisely on time, dressed in a no-nonsense blazer and carrying a leather messenger bag that had seen better days. She wasn't intimidated by the opulent surroundings or the man whose net worth exceeded the GDP of several small nations. Mr. Sterling, she said, accepting his handshake with professional firmness, thank you for agreeing to meet. Ms. Chen, Robert gestured to the chair across from his desk. I understand you're working on a story about my son. She nodded, taking out a digital recorder. Do you mind if I record our conversation? I do, actually. This meeting is off the record. Chen raised an eyebrow but put the recorder away. All right, off the record for now. She pulled out a notebook instead. I'm investigating what appears to be a remarkable medical recovery. Your son Ethan was paralyzed from the waist down for 5 years following a skiing accident, correct? My son's medical history is private, not when it involves what multiple witnesses describe as a miraculous healing following an encounter with a young girl at Le Ciel restaurant 3 weeks ago. Chen's gaze was direct, unflinching. A girl who has subsequently been seen entering your building almost daily. Robert maintained his composure. Ms. Chen, I'm sure you can appreciate that any parent would go to extraordinary lengths for their child's well-being. I've consulted numerous specialists for my son over the years. This specialist appears to be approximately 12 years old, Chen countered, and according to witnesses, she specifically said she could cure your son if you gave her something to eat. Robert leaned back in his chair. You've been a journalist for what? 15 years? 17. In that time, you must have encountered many stories that seemed incredible on the surface, but had perfectly rational explanations when fully investigated. Certainly, Chen agreed. I've also encountered phenomena that defied conventional explanation. That's why I'm here, to understand which category this falls into. Robert studied her carefully. There was an intelligence in her eyes that couldn't be dismissed, a determination that matched his own. What's your angle on this story, Ms. Chen? Miracle healing? Exploitation of a minor? Financial fraud? So I'm curious what narrative you're constructing. I don't construct narratives, Mr. Sterling. I uncover truths. She pulled several photographs from her bag and laid them on his desk. These were taken over the past 3 weeks. They show your son's progression from wheelchair to walking with assistance to taking independent steps. Medical experts I've consulted call this recovery rate unprecedented and medically inexplicable. The photos were indeed damning evidence, clearly showing Ethan's remarkable progress, with timestamps that confirmed the compressed timeline. My son has benefited from an experimental physical therapy protocol, Robert said carefully, one that has shown promising results. Administered by a child? Chen's skepticism was evident. Mr. Sterling, I've identified the girl as Lily Pearson, daughter of Catherine Pearson, your former employee who was terminated while pregnant. That's quite a coincidence, don't you think? Robert felt a chill. She had gone further in her investigation than he'd anticipated. Ms. Chen, I'll be direct with you. There are vulnerable people involved in this situation, children whose privacy deserves protection. I agree, Chen said, surprising him. Which is why I want to get the story right. People will talk about what happened at that restaurant. Rumors are already circulating. Without facts, speculation will run wild, and that could be far more damaging to all involved. It was a compelling argument, one that Robert hadn't considered. The story would emerge one way or another, if not through Chen, then through social media speculation, restaurant staff gossip, or smartphone footage that might already exist. What would you need for your story? He asked finally. An interview with you, access to Ethan's medical records before and after the incident, and ideally a conversation with Lily and her mother. The last is impossible, Robert said firmly. They've made it clear they want no publicity. Chen considered this. Would they speak anonymously? No names, no identifying details. I doubt it. They value their privacy above all else. Then help me understand what happened from your perspective, Chen pressed. Something remarkable occurred. Your son is walking again after years of paralysis. Don't you think people deserve to know that such healing is possible? Robert stood and walked to the window, looking out over the city. What if I offered you exclusive rights to the story, but with a delayed release? Say 5 years from now, when Ethan is older and better able to handle the attention. Chen shook her head. That's not how journalism works, Mr. Sterling. This story has significant public interest value now. And what about the human cost, the disruption to a child's life, the unwanted attention, the exploitation that would surely follow? Robert turned to face her. Some truths come at too high a price. That's not for me to decide, Chen said. Or you. The public has a right to information, even at the expense of a child's well-being, Robert challenged. Where's the ethical line, Ms. Chen? When does your pursuit of a story become harmful to those involved? The question seemed to give her pause. I'm not interested in harming anyone, Mr. Sterling, but I am interested in the truth. Robert made a decision then, one that would have been unthinkable to him a month ago. What if I gave you a different truth, a better story? Chen looked intrigued. I'm listening. Not about Lily specifically, but about the larger picture, about how this experience has changed me, about the reforms I'm implementing at Sterling Financial as a result, reforms that will affect thousands of lives. What kind of reforms? Comprehensive parental leave policies, healthcare that extends 6 months beyond termination, a fund for employees facing medical crises. Robert returned to his desk, a fundamental shift in how we value human capital over financial capital. Chen made notes. That's certainly newsworthy, but it doesn't explain your son's recovery. No, Robert agreed. Some mysteries should perhaps remain mysteries. The public might not accept that. The public will have to, Robert said firmly, because I won't compromise on protecting Lily and her mother. That's non-negotiable. Chen studied him with newfound interest. You've changed, Mr. Sterling. Anyone who knows your reputation would be shocked by this conversation. Yes, he acknowledged simply. I have changed. After Chen left, Robert immediately called Kate to update her on the situation. To his surprise, she was calm. We knew this might happen, she said. Lily and I have talked about it. I tried to deflect her attention to other aspects of the story, Robert explained. But she's determined. She already knows who you are, who Lily is. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Lily wants to talk to you in person. Can you come to Brooklyn tonight? The brownstone in Brooklyn Heights was a world away from Robert's Manhattan penthouse, despite being separated by just one bridge. The neighborhood was historic, tree-lined, and possessed of a warmth that no amount of luxury could replicate in his glass and steel tower. Kate opened the door before he could knock. "Come in. Lily's waiting in the living room." The interior of the brownstone was sparsely furnished, but already showed signs of becoming a home. Books on shelves, a few framed photographs, a handmade quilt thrown over the sofa. Lily sat cross-legged on a window seat, watching rain splatter against the glass. "Mr. Sterling," she said, turning to him with a smile. "How's Ethan today?" "Better," Robert replied. "The stiffness is almost gone. He managed to walk all the way to the kitchen and back without stopping." Lily nodded, pleased. "Good. That's really good." Robert sat in an armchair across from her. "Your mother said you wanted to speak with me." "Yes." Lily looked suddenly older, more serious. "Mom told me about the reporter, about how she wants to write about what I can do." "I'm trying to prevent that," Robert assured her. "I know and I appreciate it." Lily glanced at her mother, who nodded encouragingly. "But I've been thinking, maybe it's okay if some people know." Robert looked between them in surprise. "I thought privacy was your primary concern." "It is," Kate said, sitting beside her daughter. "But Lily made a point I hadn't considered." Lily leaned forward. "If people find out I can help, they'll want me to help everyone. And I can't. I'd never have a normal life." "Exactly," Robert agreed. "But," Lily continued, "if nobody knows, then I can't help anyone except by accident, like with Ethan. And that doesn't seem right either." Robert was struck again by the wisdom in this child. "What are you suggesting?" "A middle way," Lily said simply. "Not a big news story about me, but maybe a way for some people who really need help to find me. People you check first, so it's safe." Kate placed a protective arm around her daughter. "We've discussed boundaries, limited numbers, complete confidentiality, and only if Lily wants to, never because she feels obligated." Robert considered the proposal. "You're talking about a screening process, a way to manage access while maintaining privacy." "Yes," Kate confirmed. "Lily has a gift. We've accepted that. The question is how she can use it without being used by others." "And you trust me to be involved in this?" Robert asked, genuine surprise in his voice. Kate's expression softened slightly. "I'm beginning to." The conversation continued late into the evening, the three of them mapping out possibilities, concerns, safeguards. By the time Robert left, they had the outline of a plan. A discreet foundation, rigorous screening protocols, ironclad NDAs, and most importantly, Lily's complete autonomy to accept or decline any case. As Robert walked back to his car, the rain having stopped to reveal a sky scattered with stars, he realized how profoundly his world had shifted. A month ago, his first instinct would have been to control Lily's gift, to maximize its utility, and yes, its profitability. Now, his only concern was protecting her, not just her privacy, but her childhood, her future, her right to define her own path. The next morning, he met again with Amanda Chen, this time in a quiet corner of a small cafe rather than his imposing office. "I've considered your position," he began, "and I have a proposal." Chen looked intrigued. "I'm listening." "I'll give you exclusive access to a series of stories, not just about corporate reforms, but about a new foundation I'm establishing to connect patients who've exhausted conventional treatments with alternative healing approaches." "Alternative healing?" Chen repeated skeptically. "Methods outside traditional Western medicine," Robert clarified. "Approaches that show promise but lack formal scientific validation." "And this foundation will involve Lily Pearson?" Robert met her gaze steadily. "I won't confirm or deny specific individuals' involvement. The foundation's work will be strictly confidential to protect all parties." Chen considered this. "So instead of one explosive story about a miraculous healing, you're offering me ongoing exclusive access to a series about medical innovations and corporate reform." "Yes, stories with substance and long-term impact rather than sensationalism. And in exchange, I drop my investigation into Lily specifically. I'm asking you to consider the ethical implications of exposing a child to the kind of attention that would inevitably follow," Robert said carefully. "I'm not asking you to ignore the truth, but to focus on aspects of the truth that don't put vulnerable people at risk." Chen was silent for a long moment, tapping her pen against her notebook. Finally, she said, "I'll need verifiable details about this foundation. Real access. No PR spin. You'll have it. and an understanding that if others break the story about Lily, all bets are off. Fair enough, Robert agreed, but I think you'll find the story I'm offering has more depth and lasting significance. As they shook hands to seal the agreement, Robert felt a weight lift from his shoulders. He had no illusions that this would permanently resolve the situation. Secrets this significant had a way of eventually emerging, but it bought them time. Time for Lily to grow up, to understand her gift more fully, to decide for herself how to share it with the world. And in that moment, Robert Sterling, master of leveraged buyouts and hostile takeovers, understood something he'd never fully grasped before. True power wasn't about control or domination. It was about protection, about using your strength to shield those who needed it most. 6 months later, Central Park blazed with autumn colors. Ethan Sterling ran along a winding path, his legs pumping with the easy rhythm of a child who had never known limitation. Behind him, Robert walked at a more measured pace, watching his son with quiet wonder. "Dad, hurry up," Ethan called, impatient as only a 9-year-old can be. "We're not all training for the Olympics," Robert replied with a smile, but he quickened his steps, catching up to his son at the edge of the lake where they had planned to meet Lily and Kate. They were already there, seated on a bench, Lily tossing breadcrumbs to eager ducks, while Kate read a book beside her. The sight of them, so normal, so peaceful, filled Robert with a sense of rightness that no business victory had ever provided. "Lily!" Ethan shouted, racing toward her. She looked up with a grin, moving over to make room for him on the bench. "How many blocks did you run today?" 12, Ethan announced proudly, "and I beat my time from yesterday." "That's awesome," Lily said, handing him some breadcrumbs. "Soon you'll be faster than before." Kate closed her book as Robert approached. "He looks good," she observed, watching Ethan's animated gestures as he told Lily about his morning. "Better than good," Robert agreed, sitting beside her. "Dr. Levinson says his muscle tone and coordination are now superior to pre-accident levels." Kate nodded. "Lily says that happens sometimes. The healing goes beyond the original condition." They sat in companionable silence for a moment, watching their children feed the ducks. The initial tension between them had gradually evolved into something approaching friendship, or at least mutual respect. "How are things at the foundation?" Kate asked. The Sterling Foundation for Integrative Healing had opened quietly 2 months earlier. Its purpose, to connect patients who had exhausted conventional treatments with carefully vetted alternative approaches, was public knowledge. The fact that Lily was occasionally one of those alternative approaches remained a closely guarded secret. "We've helped 17 families so far," Robert said, 3 with Lily's direct involvement. The system they had developed was working surprisingly well. The foundation identified cases where conventional medicine had failed, children like Ethan with unexplained conditions that resisted treatment. A rigorous screening process followed, with multiple layers of confidentiality agreements. Only the most desperate cases that met strict ethical criteria were ever presented to Lily. And only if she and Kate both agreed. "And the girl with leukemia?" Kate asked. "Sophie?" "In remission." Robert smiled. "Her doctors are calling it spontaneous regression. Very rare but documented in medical literature." "That's how it should be," Kate said with satisfaction. "No miracles, just medical mysteries that happen to resolve themselves." The arrangement protected Lily while still allowing her to help select cases that touched her heart. She remained a normal child, attending school, making friends, pursuing her interests in art and science. The Foundation's work was structured around her schedule, never the other way around. Amanda Chen's latest article comes out tomorrow, Robert mentioned, focused on the corporate policy changes at Sterling Financial, the parental leave expansion, the medical crisis fund. "I saw the draft," Kate said. "It's good. She's keeping her end of the bargain." "She's found a better story," Robert observed. "The slow transformation of a corporate culture has more depth than a one-time sensational healing." Kate gave him a sidelong glance. "And is it just a story, or is it real?" "It's real," Robert said quietly. The board wasn't thrilled initially, but the data on employee retention and productivity is starting to win them over. Turns out treating people like valuable assets rather than disposable resources is actually good business. Who would have thought? Kate's tone was dry, but there was a hint of a smile on her lips. Their conversation was interrupted by Ethan, who came running back to them. "Dad, can Lily come see my science project? I've got it all set up at home." "If it's okay with Ms. Pearson," Robert replied, looking to Kate. "Please, Mum," Lily added. "Ethan says it's about renewable energy." Kate checked her watch. "I suppose we could stop by for an hour before your piano lesson." As they walked together toward the park exit, Robert reflected on how much had changed in 6 months. His relationship with Ethan was unrecognizable. Gone was the distant, preoccupied father, replaced by a man who scheduled his business calls around school pickup times and coached his son's newly joined soccer team. Sterling Financial was changing too, though more gradually. Robert had installed a new chief ethics officer with actual authority, implemented family-friendly policies that were revolutionary for Wall Street, and begun a systematic review of past downsizing decisions to identify and rectify particularly harmful cases like Kate's. Not everyone understood or approved of these changes. Some board members questioned his judgment. Old friends from the financial world joked about him going soft or having a midlife crisis. But Robert found himself increasingly indifferent to their opinions. The metrics that had once defined his success, quarterly profits, market share, year-end bonuses, seemed hollow compared to watching his son run through the park on legs that worked. Back at the penthouse, Ethan proudly displayed his science project. A miniature solar array connected to a battery system that powered a small model house. As he explained the workings to Lily in meticulous detail, Kate and Robert stood in the doorway, watching. "He's got a good mind," Kate observed. "Creative but methodical." "Like his mother," Robert said. "She was a brilliant engineer before she decided corporate life wasn't for her." "Do you hear from her?" Robert shook his head. "Not for years. She's in Seattle now, I think, with her new family." Kate studied him. "That must be difficult for Ethan." It was, less so now. Robert watched his son laugh at something Lily said. "He's healing in more ways than one." After the science demonstration, Ethan had another idea. "Can I show Lily my new project, the one for kids like me?" "Sure," Robert agreed, curious to see his son's enthusiasm. Ethan led them to his bedroom, where his desk was covered with papers, drawings, and a laptop open to a simple website template. "I'm starting a group," he explained proudly, "for kids who were sick or injured but got better, so they can help other kids who are still sick." Lily examined the materials with interest. "Like peer support?" "Exactly," Ethan nodded vigorously. "When I was in the wheelchair, all my doctors were adults. They were nice, but they didn't really understand what it felt like. I want kids who've been through stuff to help kids who are going through it now." "Kids helping kids," Lily read from the top of a page. "I like that name." "Dad's helping me make it real," Ethan said. "We're going to start with 10 kids from my old physical therapy center." Robert had been surprised when Ethan first proposed the idea, but had quickly recognized its value. The project gave Ethan purpose, a way to transform his years of suffering into something positive. And it provided a perfect cover for Lily's occasional involvement with select cases. She would be just one of many children offering support to peers, nothing miraculous about it. "It's a wonderful idea," Kate said, genuine admiration in her voice. "Using your experience to help others is the best possible response to hardship." Ethan beamed at the praise. "That's what Lily taught me. When she helped me, she wasn't doing it because she had to. She was doing it because she could." The simple wisdom of this statement hung in the air between them. Robert caught Kate's eye, and in that moment of shared understanding, the last of the barriers between them seemed to fall away. Later, as they prepared to leave, Lily pulled Robert aside while Ethan was showing Kate his collection of soccer trophies. "Mr. Sterling," she said, her voice serious, "I need to tell you something." "What is it, Lily?" "Ethan will have a setback next month." Robert felt a cold fear grip his heart. "What? But he's doing so well." "It's normal," Lily assured him quickly. "It's part of the process. His body is still remembering, still adjusting. But when it happens, you need to stay calm, don't panic, don't rush back to doctors and tests." "How bad will it be?" Robert asked, struggling to maintain his composure. "He'll have weakness in his left leg for about 2 weeks, some pain too. But if he keeps moving, keeps trying, it will pass." Lily looked up at him with those wise eyes. The body sometimes moves backward to remind the mind that healing isn't just physical. Robert studied her, this extraordinary child who spoke with the wisdom of someone who had lived multiple lifetimes. "How do you know all this, Lily?" How do you understand things that medical science can't explain? Lily considered the question thoughtfully. I don't really know, I just feel it. Like how you know things about money and business without having to think too hard. It's just there in my mind. The comparison made Robert smile. Well, I'm grateful for whatever knowledge you have, however you came by it. Mr. Sterling, Lily hesitated, then continued. The most important thing I've learned is that healing isn't just about fixing what's broken. Sometimes it's about learning to live differently because of what happened. Like Ethan's project, Robert said, understanding dawning. Yes, and like your company changes. Lily smiled. You're healing too, you know, just in a different way. The observation, so simple yet so profound, stayed with Robert long after Kate and Lily had departed. That evening, as he and Ethan ate dinner together, something that had become a nightly ritual rather than a rare occurrence, he watched his son with new awareness. Dad, Ethan said between bites of pasta, do you think Mom would be proud of me now? For walking again and for my Kids Helping Kids project? The question caught Robert off guard. They rarely spoke of Ethan's mother, her absence a wound that had never fully healed. Yes, he said after a moment, very proud. But Ethan, she would have been proud of you even if you never walked again. Your worth isn't measured by what your body can or can't do. Ethan nodded, absorbing this. I know that now, but I didn't before Lily. Neither did I, Robert admitted. I thought I could fix everything with enough money, enough experts, enough control. I didn't understand that some kinds of healing can't be purchased or commanded. Like when Lily said she just reminded my body of what it already knew, Ethan said thoughtfully. Exactly like that. Robert reached across the table to squeeze his son's hand. Sometimes we already have everything we need to heal. We just forget for a while. A month later, just as Lily had predicted, Ethan experienced a setback. His left leg weakened, became painful when bearing weight. But rather than panicking, rather than rushing back to specialists and tests, Robert remembered Lily's advice. They worked through it together, gently, patiently, with faith in the process. And as winter settled over New York, bringing the first snowfall and holiday decorations to the city streets, Ethan's strength returned, not just to his legs, but to his spirit. The Kids Helping Kids project launched officially, bringing together children who had faced adversity and emerged stronger for it. The Sterling Foundation continued its quiet work, connecting desperate families with unconventional hope. Amanda Chen published her series on corporate transformation, which won her the Pulitzer Prize she'd been chasing for years. And Kate accepted a position as the foundation's executive director, her financial expertise and personal experience making her uniquely qualified to guide its mission. One evening as Christmas approached, Robert found himself back in Central Park with Ethan, Kate, and Lily. They walked together along paths now dusted with snow, their breath visible in the cold air, holiday lights twinkling in the trees around them. Look, Dad! Ethan called, pointing to a group of children skating on the park's frozen pond. Can we try that? Robert hesitated. Ethan had never skated, even before his accident. Are you sure it's pretty challenging? I want to try, Ethan insisted. Lily will help me. Lily smiled at this confidence. I'll try, but I'm not very good at skating myself. Then we'll all learn together, Kate said with a warm glance at Robert. As they rented skates and cautiously made their way onto the ice, Robert found himself thinking about the strange, miraculous journey of the past 9 months. How a single moment, a hungry child asking for food and offering healing, had transformed not just Ethan's physical condition, but the very foundation of Robert's life and values. Watching Ethan and Lily wobble across the ice, holding hands for balance and laughing at their own clumsiness, Robert felt a profound sense of gratitude wash over him. For his son's recovery, yes, but also for the deeper healing that had occurred in his relationship with Ethan, in his understanding of what truly mattered, in his recognition of the human consequences of power and wealth. Kate skated up beside him, her cheeks flushed with cold. Penny for your thoughts. I was just thinking about miracles, Robert replied. Not just Ethan walking again, but everything that's followed. How one act of compassion can ripple outward, touching so many lives. Kate followed his gaze to their children. Lily told me something interesting yesterday. She said that helping Ethan wasn't just about his legs. It was about what was inside him and inside you. What did she mean? I think, Kate said thoughtfully. She meant that physical healing was just the beginning. The real miracle was what it awakened in both of you. Ethan's desire to help others, your recognition of the human cost of your business practices. Robert nodded slowly. She's right, as usual. He turned to Kate, his expression serious. I can never fully make amends for what happened to you. For the years you and Lily struggled because of a decision I approved without consideration for its consequences. But I want you to know I'm trying to do better, to be better. I know, Kate said simply. That's why I'm here. She gestured to the scene before them. Their children on the ice, the holiday lights, the peaceful winter evening. This is what matters, Robert. Not the penthouse or the corporate empire. Just this. People caring for each other. As if to punctuate her words, Ethan took that moment to attempt a small spin, lost his balance and tumbled onto the ice. But before Robert could move, Lily was there, helping him up, both of them laughing at the mishap. You okay? Robert called. Ethan grinned back at him. Better than okay, Dad. I'm perfect. And watching his son glide away across the ice, imperfect in his technique but perfect in his joy, Robert Sterling knew that it was true. Some questions would always remain unanswered. How did Lily do what she did? Was it faith, biology, or something science had yet to name? But the greater truth had become clear. The most important healing wasn't of the body, but of the heart. You know, Kate said beside him, Lily told me once that everyone has the ability to heal something. Most people just don't recognize their power. Robert thought about the changes he'd implemented at Sterling Financial, the lives improved by new policies, the families supported by the foundation, the children encouraged by Ethan's project. I'm beginning to understand what she means, he said. As night fell over New York City, snow began to drift down in large, lazy flakes. The four of them skated together under the gentle snowfall, their laughter rising into the winter air. Not as separate individuals bound by circumstance, but as a circle of healing that had expanded to include them all. And in that moment, surrounded by softly falling snow and the people who had taught him to see beyond the balance sheets and boardrooms, Robert Sterling understood at last what the small girl in the blue hoodie had meant when she first approached their table. Sometimes the most profound healing comes from the most unexpected sources. Sometimes all it takes is one simple act of kindness to change everything. And sometimes the greatest miracle isn't the healing we receive, but the healing we're finally able to offer others.